Hey Kevin.
Hey Assis.
It's really good to have you on the podcast today.
Nice to be here.
So yeah, I really want to bring you on today because you're an awesome man, and what you do is you shoot videos, and you have such an authentic way of doing that. So yeah, I wanted to bring you on to talk about that. But first off, just want to introduce you to the audience and say, hello, Kevin.
Hello, audience.
To start out with, it'd be awesome. I just want to intro you, and so we met at an event that you ran at a co-working space here in Brighton called Unlocking LinkedIn, and my very first experience of you was like, oh, this guy is like, wow, like this guy's a massive guru and a massive wise figure, because you led a workshop called Unlocking LinkedIn, and you really went down into the very specifics within it, and you kind of broke down, like, it wasn't just about LinkedIn, you kind of broke down social media and how to post, when to post, like what to like the structure of a post. You went into the actual LinkedIn profile, how to reach out to people, and you really went down into all the specific nitty-gritties. And at the time as well, I was kind of wondering, okay, like what is my approach to social media? Being a solo business owner, like I wanted to start doing more content, and 2 weeks after that, I'd actually put my podcast on pause. 2 weeks after that, I then have basically put an episode out every week since then. So I think I'm up to now, from that point, 22 episodes since then. So it's kind of, I feel like on that day you really kind of planted a seed. We then met again at the Happy Startup School's Christmas party. And the funny thing is like when I saw you, because I'd then seen your videos on LinkedIn, like I already knew you, and then we got talking some more, and then you'd seen some of the content I put out, and then we saw each other again at another Happy Startup event, which was _to Launch. We got talking again, and I feel like we evolved a friendship without actually being in person. So it's just led us to today, and I feel really honoured and blessed to be able to sit down with you and just talk to you about videos, and just get insight from you. And my whole podcast is about getting beneath the skin and being authentic and being yourself, and you're the master of kind of getting that across in video. So match made in heaven.
Yeah, 100%, and I think it's interesting what you say about, we met a couple of times, but then through that familiarity, seeing one another's content, when you lead with your values and people, I think it's apparent. It's, and there's different approaches to content. You can, be a character, you can position yourself and execute that precisely, and that can be what some people are looking for. There's no one right way or wrong way. But when you lead with your values, then that's what helps you to connect. And we as humans, we can really kind of divine if someone is showing up transparent, if they're being their base level core self. And when we get that sense that someone is showing up and they're not completely me focused, they're not inwardly focused with everything that they put out, and they put their values, wear them on their sleeve, it makes it so much easier to build relationships and to connect and to feel like, wow, I actually know that person and I feel connected to them. And that's the power of content. And when you find your voice, when you have that, your way of showing up, where you're happy with how you present yourself, and you share a message that benefits people, or that somehow they take in, and they're like, that was eye-opening, or that helped me to think in a different way, or now I have a new skill set because of watching this content. that's how we build relationships, and that's the goal, is to communicate. Content is nothing more than a communication. And yeah, so when we keep it kind of values led and we communicate what's at our core, and it makes it so much easier to kind of dissolve the barriers that comes kind of part and parcel with trying to engage with new people. So
yeah, wow, like, because I'm really interested in how you arrived at those values, and how you became to be doing video.
Well, so I guess my journey really started off because I have a career in the film and TV industry, and back in around 2011, I work on different blockbusters and TV shows. My very first opportunity on a blockbuster set, and this is doing rigging. So I don't know if you know about rigging, but it's like hanging all of the lights and the sound and the audio. So it's technical work. Reasonably well paid, but yeah, it's fairly manual.
Then think you can name drop
any movies?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, well, this first film was Step to the Streets.
Okay.
I worked on Hulk, Born Ultimatum. I've worked on loads of films.
Yeah,
mostly
nice.
TV. Most of my I've done a lot of films, but I've worked way more in TV. And but they're kind of right next to each other. Done a lot of commercials. But my very first opportunity, and this is because I came from the rock and roll industry, I started out building stages, and then I started rigging. So I was a rigging supervisor at the O2 Arena for years. So every concert, imaginable, every star, like I've been on a gig and been backstage. Even now, I still do. I've held on to one gig, and that's Glastonbury. Nice. I still do Glastonbury every year just because we have all access passes from the pyramid stage with my friends, like all my best friends.
Oh, sweet.
And so we just kind of go hang out and get together every year, do a little bit of work, and just enjoy the perks of the job.
So who's the coolest person you met at Glastonbury? Like,
oh no, at this point we're cooler than the stars.
Exactly. Yeah,
we don't go around like, oh my god, I'm such a fan. Like no, I guess the coolest person. Well, my favorite artist is Jay-Z.
Oh, nice.
And so I've been on a number of his shows and been on stage, like not on stage with him, but at the same time as he's on stage. Madonna bumped into Elton John in a corridor at the O2 once.
Nice.
So yeah, it's kind of just normal for us. But almost like the hierarchy, but as you advance through your career, some of the real choice jobs are in film and TV. So back in 2011, when I got my first break on a big blockbuster film, it's like, oh man, I could do with more of this. So one of the lighting guys, one of the lighting technicians, he was saying, well, if you want to do more work like this, then you should take this course at London Film Academy, Foundations in Filmmaking. That way you'll know your way around set, and people will know, like, okay, he's got the savvy, he knows, what the score is and how to navigate himself. And so, yes, took this course at London Film Academy, and that was the start of my love for content creation, for filming, and it was the storytelling. That's all we did. It was like kind of make short films with other people on the class, and you just have this connection with expression and with other people appreciating your expression and being a part of a team. And so that's really back in 2011. On the back of that course, I got a Canon 5D Mark II, which was the first DSLR where you could really make proper short films with it. Got the camera, and that really is kind of the beginning of me making the transition away from the production industry, the film and TV industry, and into my own business and content creation, video production.
So, like, because your mum actually called us like like half an hour ago, right? Like, just like she came on like the call, like what kind of just sparked me there was like, so like coming back to you being a kid, like how did you actually get into like, what was a dream as a kid, like to be like that then evolved into you then having this epic journey through working on the Hulk? And
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Because I actually studied biology and chemistry. I was a lab rat basically when I was in uni studying for my PhD, and was really into research and academia. And yeah, one year I did some traveled around Europe. This was before my final year in uni. And on the back of that trip, I thought, you know what, this is all hogwash, as we would say where I'm from. This whole kind of tract of being like an academic or doing research, like what I really want to do is like philosophy and kind of travel and be in tune with my spiritual side. And so I left school and decided that I wanted to write and connect with people on a everyday kind of just meeting people through travels and experiences. And for me, like, that's what's real. And after a year of traveling around, I was like, oh my goodness gracious, just completely derailed my trajectory that I've worked for so long. And I was just fortunate to fall into like production work. I was working, it was the summer, and I was just taking kind of like temporary jobs. You would get a job, like an assignment a day basically. And I got sent to a stadium to set up chairs at an NSYNC concert. And this is Arkansas in July.
That's a proper throwback.
It was about 41 degrees, and you're in this big heat bowl, not a cloud in the sky, and just setting up chair after just thousands of chairs. And then you go back after you set up the chairs and just labels, take a sticker, one at a time, put them on the chair. There was this crew, they were building the stage on the other side of the fence, and they just looked like they were having a great time. And so when we had a little water break, I wandered over to the fence and was, hey, how do I get on that side of the fence? I get to work with you guys. And one of the guys said, oh yeah, go talk to that woman over there. Fantastic human being named 𝗏𝗏. Went and had a chat with her, and 2 days later I was on the road with NSYNC. And that really started my whole career in the production industry, so by chance.
Wow. Well, because just leading in from that is like the first thing, like this is actually probably the third or fourth time we've met in person. And you've got like such a big energy about you, and like you're very sort of like grounded, and you just got this because the way that you talk kind of comes across as very happy-go-lucky, but like you've also got like such a warm aura about you, and coming into the way that you actually create those videos that you do put out, like that comes across in there as well. And I think coming into, like you mentioned there about writing and creating content as a way to connect with people. Like how did you arrive at your values? Like what were your...
I guess a lot of it came from growing up on the farm in Arkansas, in Wrightsville. We were on a self-sufficient farm, and we kept ourselves warm in the winter. Firewood that we cut down the trees in the forest adjacent to the farm, and fed our own animals by going out into massive hay fields, and with a rake, just me, my cousin, and my grandfather, raking piles of hay all day and all night, with my auntie as well, Auntie Gloria, and taking that back to hay lofts. And so I think at the base level, you hard work, is it's part and parcel. You take ownership of your life, or of the responsibility of the family. And then it was always instilled, because we came from really humble beginnings, and especially in America, education is a great leveler. And my mom, she's whip smart, really, really, really clever. And she went to university, and she impressed upon me the importance of an education. And so I think that combination of kind of humble beginnings and kind of work being a really key and fundamental element of our upbringing, of my childhood. And I don't know, I'm just fortunate. I spent a lot of time under my grandfather growing up, and he's really wise, kind of on the farm. Just oftentimes it was me and him. And so he was born in, I want to say 1906. And so I spent, my formative years following around My grandfather, who was in his late 70s and 80s through that whole time, like working and I guess maybe being tempered by his perspective and his kind of sense of humility and humbleness. And I don't know, I guess that helped me to be, quite grounded, and nothing was ever given. So you worked hard, and you knew that it was kind of down to you. And so I think it's one of those things, and I know maybe about 15 years ago, the whole grit thing was a big factor, especially in corporate America, for like how someone climbs the corporate ladder, and they would always associate like a grit score to their kind of maybe their potential. And so I think maybe a lot of it also comes down to the fact that, life was hard and we had to work our asses off. And, but we also took pride in what we did and looked after each other. So,
yeah, that's really cool. Like, and I like the way that you kind of really brought in your upbringing and those roots that you kind of, that you've been able to build through your family, have really stayed true into who you are, and that's like really beautiful. And coming right through into today, like, so how do you, like, what do you offer to people? Like, what is your, how would someone work with you?
My specialty is C-suite visibility coaching, content creation, strategy, and helping people to show up online consistently in a way that they're proud of, and in a way that helps them to kind of achieve their goals or their professional vision, raise the value of how people perceive them. And that, it starts off with having something to offer that is in demand or that's valuable. And then when you can communicate that in a way that, people who need what you have to offer, that they can kind of grasp your message, that is when content's effective. And it's not about the trickery or, wow, these flashy graphics, they must be important. When you can strip it to the bare essence and look at your message from your audience's point of view and address their needs and their concerns in a way that is frictionless, that's really at the core of what I do. It's helping to distill that value and understand both the psychology and the needs, like what that audience is receptive to, and then tailoring content, both through video, through copy, through photography, and making sure that my clients show up consistency, with clarity, with confidence, in a way where they're addressing the needs and the concerns of their target audience.
No, that's awesome, because I think, because we were talking last time we met about hip hop and everything you shared there, like through the lens of a client, like is or has like parallels to hip hop, and like being on the street and being able to get your message across.
Yeah.
And like like how has, like, what's influenced your way of delivering content?
Like when we were speaking last time, and I just kind of maybe even just put it out without much thought about how much hip hop has influenced how I approach life, and kind of growing up, like one of those catchphrases, one of those things, especially in the late 80s and the early to mid 90s, it was like, keep it real, keep it real. And you have to, when you come from the background, like one that's challenging, contentious, and oftentimes quite violent, if you get caught being like a snake or being underhanded, then the rules of the street are a little bit harsh. And that's kind of like the rules or the codes that I grew up having to abide by. And when it becomes second nature to keep it real, to resonate from your core, and for people to know what you stand for, because if people are a little bit skeptical, you have problems. And so you have to know who you are, what you stand for, and you have to radiate that through and through to build relationships or to build trust, and to navigate, on kind of like treacherous streets. And I kind of, after being on the farm when I was young, like in high school, I was in kind of a tough environment, kind of like from 14 till 18. And we were often back and forwards between the city. So you have to learn to navigate. And that's, I think that diversity of both going to a super like elite private university. I was an excellent student, like all of my, kind of childhood, whether I was in elementary or high school, but also, the farm life, and then also having to kind of navigate what the gangs were a menace. And I was in one of the most violent cities in America when I was in high school, and I was a good kid. I was an athlete. Went to church, 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
But you still, you have to abide by the rules.
You played football, or what was your sport?
Yeah, American football, a little bit of basketball.
Nice.
Track and field.
Yeah, you got all of them.
Yeah, that's it. You have to, though. You have to. You just can't. Otherwise, you're idle. An idle mind in that kind of environment. It oftentimes goes sideways, and so my mom did an excellent job of making sure that I was focused and productive, and that I knew the elements, the tenets of what would help me to be successful in life. And being astute, being a good athlete, having like a decent moral compass, those were all of the ingredients to elevate from that situation that you kind of in your formative years that you find yourself in. So
that's, I've got so many angles I can kind of head down, but like I want to come into, so like how do you how do you actually create a piece of content? Like how do you break it down into its like really sort of elements? Because even today, like producing this episode today, we've you've given me just the tip of having the camera on eye level, which I didn't know before, and because the way I've kind of set up the podcast is very much just me, my iPhone, and a stand, and just record and have the conversations. But having this conversation with you today, like just those small little techniques there have kind of almost like amplified it.
Yeah.
And I guess like how do you get the best out of a film or like a video?
Well, first and foremost, like I am a super nerd for cinematography. It's another form of communication and storytelling. And if we think about someone who wears horizontal stripes, and I think that's something that people know, like if you go out in public and if you're like a larger person wearing horizontal stripes, it'll make you look bigger. Whereas if you wear vertical stripes, the optical kind of perception is slimming. And cinematography, cameras, lighting, it's all the same. It's a way of enhancing perception. And so when you have a camera angle underneath looking up, then that makes it such that the viewer is looking up to you. So it's like you're a small child as the viewer, and that there's this big person who's kind of domineering on you. It has an intimidating kind of connotation, even though that's not what you're meaning to communicate. But that's just the nature of angles and just how it perception works. And so I don't think it's worth getting too bogged down in the technical elements, but at the same time, in awareness, depending on what you want to achieve, there's always a technique or method that will enhance or help to dissolve friction with that message. And so with my clients, so if I'm going to my signature service is 6 months of strategy coaching. We film 6 months worth of content in 2 to 3 days, and then I schedule that for my clients for them to approve and then send out on their social media. So it's this really automated system. And for a client, that's someone who is looking to almost kind of go from zero to building an awareness or familiarity. So you're building the know, like, trust bond over that 6-month campaign. First, you want your audience to get to know you. And if you have no idea who someone is, like you're just like walking down the street and this person, just like, oh wow, I want to know that person. You're not going to go over them and start telling them how to solve their problems, or like what you noticed about them, or some deep, profound experiences. You're just going to keep it light, and you're going to be like, oh, I like your hat, like, nice, something easy. And so if you're creating content and you're in that no phase, then you want to create something that's easy to connect with. And so maybe if you're standing in front of Brighton Pier, because that's going to instantly connect you with other people who are familiar with Brighton Pier, and you talk about how this environment or this space is so energizing and gets you in a great mood to go about your day. Simple, easy. Other people can relate to it, and now they know you. If you want to take that a step further, then maybe you make a video talking about a cleanup effort that you've done at Brighton Pier, because of how it affects environmentally, how it impacts the area, and how it impacts the mental well-being of the people who come and visit that area. And so this is a little bit deeper. This is about your values. This is what I care about and what I'm willing to sacrifice or to work for. That's how you further the relationship. So you get people when people feel like there's when you're congruent in terms of your values, and that's what we were saying at the beginning of this episode. It's like, through sharing content, we felt like there's an alignment of values. I like how you communicate. I like your why. And that's how you connect with people, is by, over time, very kind of slowly introducing the values that connect you. That's how you know that you're in your tribe. And then the trust element, once someone believes in your values, then you can go more into a deep dive of how what I know can solve your problems, or this is what I feel like will help you. And they're going to be receptive. They're going to give you their time, because you've built that relationship where they know you and they like you. And so once you start, like me telling you about camera angles or lighting or audio or something like that, then that's where you solidify trust. Because when we raise the camera and you're like, oh wow, that scene looks good, now you know that I'm a trusted voice, that I'm someone who, all right, like, you actually have the answers to a lot of the things that I'm looking to implement in my professional life or personal life. And so that's how you frame your content. And every stage of that journey is a slightly different approach. So selfies are just magic early on in a content strategy. It's easy, it's digestible. We all like each other's faces. No matter what a person thinks about their face, your audience wants to see it. Take a selfie, be intentional, have a good angle, reasonably, decent lighting, something interesting in the background, or some nice copy or nice story to go along with it. That's a great way, like just walking around, making a video, relatable, connecting. If you're going to go into the trust phase, if you're going to go into that's the no phase. If you're going to go to the like phase, maybe put your camera stationary and, really be succinct, but, have a connecting, like make eye contact with the camera. That's your audience, and say something that's values led. And when, with that approach, it's a little bit more immersive. It's more intentional. You can still be emotive. It doesn't have to be super polished and perfect, but it's a different approach than something like a selfie or just walking around town, showing some highlights and chopping it together. And then if you're going to go to the trust phase, no like trust, if you're going to go to the trust phase, for me, that's where scripted content or something that's super precise, super professional, that's where you're looking to convert. And so different stages of the relationship building phase require different styles and standard of content. And that's what I map out. That's what I break up and help to put together, this vision, this roadmap for my clients over the 6-month campaigns.
Yeah, wow, that's a super comprehensive and super cool. And what was coming through me when you were sharing that was, well, thank you for sharing that, and also to sharing it on the episode as well, because this would hopefully help people who are kind of just in that phase of wanting to get themselves out more, and just like bringing into that storytelling element of where we started with, bringing it back to how we've been able to build a relationship from our content. Like, I guess, like I can share about you, and I'd be curious to hear like what has resonated through the content I've shared and what hasn't.
What resonates is like I love the concept of the graphic novels and helping your clients to tell their story, and it's such a unique format. And I think we oftentimes struggle with how we're perceived, and so through your experience, through engaging, that you're able to give your clients this representation of them that they may have not considered. I feel like that is something that will really energizes people, and it's also you can't really do that in a contrived way. You have to connect, and you have to really be present and invested in their story and in their future. And for me, that's such a special approach, and such a unique offering, and just this commitment, this investment in other people's stories. I feel that's pretty special, and I think that you do a phenomenal job of it.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. and then like I guess like what are ways that like just what you've just shared, like how that could have be enhanced.
For me, I think there's it comes down to your goals, and I think there's a balancing act between letting the technicals mask kind of true passion or conviction or talent or storytelling, because you can't just get a fancy camera, a nice lens, and a light, and just that can kind of really detract from the fact that there is not a lot of substance underneath. You can sell an image, but then on the other side, you can have such an impactful message. You can have something that will help so many people, but if it's not communicated in a way that there's the minimal amount of friction, then people won't ever grab that message. And so that's where camera angles or a little bit of lighting or pristine audio is really the very first step. And so I think having kind of intentional audio quality and not settling for good enough, really kind of knowing what's going to help dissolve resistance, that is, for me, that's going to be one of the easiest ways for you to convey a message where other people can see the value in what you're bringing to the table as a really succinct, crystal clear message. And then I think it's also important to edit intentionally, edit your footage in a way where there is a respect for the viewer's time. And so having a system where you can pull out, just the right sound bites, maybe putting together, combining a little clip of this, a little bit of that, making a 45-second or a minute and a half, almost highlight video or short form piece of content where people can get a taster of the substance that's in the big message, and then using those short form pieces to attract your audience so that they sit down for the deep dive. Because again, like if you think know, like, trust, like a podcast episode, it takes a lot for someone to invest half an hour, 45 minutes in your content. And if the angle's not great or if the audio's not pristine, then it's like, well, what's my incentive? There has to be continuity. There has to be continuity in the quality of your message and the way that you convey it and what you're actually conveying. And so that's what I look to do with my clients. It's why I work with C-level executives, founders, because they resonate with quality. They have a message that's of substance and of value, And so when you are very intentional about how you package that message and share it with their audience, that helps to break down resistance. And so, yeah, I feel like there's probably some consideration, potentially some growth, to make sure that the quality of what is being shared is packaged in a way that's congruent with the substance of what you're offering.
Nice. I really like that. And like, is there recommendations on what those products would be? Like, so like to get better audio, to get a better camera, like what are some recommendations like?
I do believe that an iPhone or a modern Android, anything within the past 3 years, that is going to be good enough for 90% of the messages. Where mirrorless or DSLR cameras come into their own is they help you to be precise. Whereas, with an iPhone, we just kind of have the field of view. The background looks as it looks, but if you can blur out the background, it focuses the attention on the viewer, so people know they don't jump around the screen. They're being confused about, where to look or what they should be focusing on. I don't think it's really critical to invest heavily, but if you're going to spend, I think you could spend maybe like £600. I don't know the lower end cameras. I know Sony has a great vlogging camera, maybe a 𝗩𝗶𝗴𝗶 or something like that. You can get a Rode Wireless Go wireless mic or something. I keep one in my backpack. I film a lot of content on my phone now, and I have a wireless mic that I can plug to my iPhone because it's that important. And it can be a rabbit hole, but it really just depends on your goals in your budget and what content can do to move the needle, to bring in clients. But I would say, spend $1,000, $1,200, and that'll instantly put you into a really, kind of higher category. It'll really distinguish you without breaking the budget, and you can still be flexible and nimble. But it's those little touches that say, okay, this is a message that's worth listening to because someone has taken the effort to make sure it's distinctive compared to every other person, who's just got an iPhone. But at bare minimum, a ring light, and a stand. You need a stand and a ring light, and then maybe like $100 on a Rode Wireless Go type mic, and that alone, puts you into a distinguished category.
I love that, because that's basically like the two ranges in it. It's like, just to get going, like for any listeners out there, it's like, that's what you need is a ring light and a microphone.
Yeah.
Like a Rode Go microphone, and the other thing is like a tripod.
Yeah, like the ring lights, like you can get one that has a tripod stand in it. So it's got the circular light, the tripod right there, and a microphone. Because being able to just have your camera kind of static and framed properly, there's an air of professionalism, intentionality, and we always want to be intentional when we're communicating. And that's the thing, is that we kind of forget that having the camera at this angle communicates something different from at this angle. And if you're not aware of it, just like if you're not aware of how stripes will alter how people perceive you, or even I wanted us to be in this location because I wanted us to have an interesting backdrop, because as dashing and interesting as we are, it's always nice when your audience has other visual interests, other things to consider, because it tells a story. It tells a story of the environment that we're in, like the quality of the environment, and just like the polish, and that's going to resonate with a corporate audience who doesn't kind of mess around in dodgy neighborhoods. It's kind of clear that we're somewhere reasonably high end. And so I'm really conscientious of the environments, and everything communicates something. And when you get a decent microphone that instantly communicates something. A little bit of a light instantly communicates something. So.
Yeah, and then one more thing. It's like, just to play the devil's advocate on that, is let's just say you pull out your camera and just do it wherever, you know, like sit outside next to a bush, or just like almost like because bringing it back to the title of being authentic, and sometimes you don't have the option of like having like a really nice place, and you just have what you have, which is just your phone in your pocket. You've just got off the tube, and you want to just film yourself. Like, what's your take on just being authentic as you are wherever you are?
Yeah, I think there's a difference between being authentic and being lazy.
Yeah, okay, that's
and if it's a message that, you know, is worth saying, well, if it has the potential to make an impact in someone's life, then it's worth saying it in a way that they're going to be receptive to. And so it really starts with the audience. Just because I want to say something right now, that's not what communication is about. Communication is about the needs of the person, the availability of the other person, and there's always a way. And I think we can be so impulsive, and that sometimes that gets into the way of the big picture. But that same scene, you know, like you with your phone, just getting off of a tube, you can go into a stairwell, or you can go somewhere discreet with a very clean, uninterrupted background, something that won't distract, and you can have a really succinct message that you take the time, go to an editing program like Captions or CapCut, Descript. There's so many like editing programs where after you film, you know, like your heart to heart, you know, like this is my passionate expression, then you take it and you clean it up and you respect the viewer. You make sure that it's succinct, that they instantly know why they should stay engaged in this video. There has to be some kind of hook element. And it doesn't mean like some kind of trickery or some kind of fake promises. It just means let the viewer know what this video is about, how it's going to benefit them, what that transformation is going to be at the end, and then deliver. And be succinct, get in, get out. So only leave in what needs to be in that video to drive the impact that you're promising. And so it comes back down to being intentional. And I think we're so tuned into this idea of authenticity, but we really, really need to focus on intentionality.
That's brilliant. I love that, because it's kind of, it just basically flips it from, there's a difference between just rocking up and doing it, and it's like you presenting yourself like you are your brand, you are your business, or you are you, and it's like putting yourself into like how you would want to meet someone in a like how do, like, the way I'm going to try and articulate this is like when you're meeting someone, like there's an element of care there. And if you're meeting someone in a coffee shop, or
there you go,
like here, like as we met today, there's like we've taken time to like dress nicely, and
I ironed this shirt, man.
Yeah. Same. I ironed both of these.
Yeah, dude. It's like our content is like a business suit, you know, and the same way we're networking, and most of, like, I'm thinking this is for, you know, LinkedIn or for professionals, and yeah, we have to think about how we present ourselves at a networking event. Do we just go in and just say a lot of ramble and include things that the person doesn't really need to know or doesn't really care about? It's like, no, we're succinct. And we ask questions about them. A good networker does an excellent job of getting to know the needs and the situation of another person. That's how you build relationships. And so our content online has to be the same. We have to present ourselves. We have to our lighting or our microphone. It's like speaking clearly. Nobody goes to a networking event and acts like they don't care, and mumbles or are inaudible. Like, that is not the way to represent yourself when you're building relationships for the purpose of growing a business. And your content, your online content, is the exact same.
Yeah, because representation of what you're going to produce the person.
Clarity. We're dissolving resistance at every turn. And when we present ourselves in, professional business attire, then that dissolves a layer of resistance. When we communicate in a clear, succinct fashion, then that makes people inclined to engage with us. And so our content is no different.
What's one message that you would share to people who want to start making more content?
There is an approach where you can show up and be proud of how you share your message online. There is a way. If you can go to a networking event, if you can have a conversation with someone, then you can show up online consistently in a way that you're proud of and that helps to build relationships. We just have to find our approach. We have to find out a system that gets us out of our own way. But I just hate the thought that people feel like it doesn't work for me or it doesn't work, because it does work. We're here because it works. I'm doing a TED Talk in April because it works. I've got, half dozen speaking engagements over the next few months because content creation and sharing your message works. I've founded this community, Brighton United, and we're looking to dissolve the barriers that the global majority face in the business and networking scenes. And this community has come together because sharing a message online works. It's galvanized a whole community. Every people who are a part, they're like, this is in line with my values. I stand for this. I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this vision. And so it is possible. Every last human, maybe your strength will be in copywriting or photography or design, but there is a way to communicate your message in a way that helps you to connect with the people who should be in your network and grow your business.
Awesome.
Like, content is a currency, and when you invest in sharing your message and sharing information that helps people solve their problems, it builds up your social credit. And when you do that over time, then it has compound interest. And when people can trace back your message and they can see that cornerstone, they can see your values or the why of the work that you do, the belief that you have in it, the way that it helps your target client, then that's where the leverage of content comes in, because it's perception. Content is messaging. And when you can reach people with your perspective consistently and build up trust, and then they start to see you as a credible authority, that gives you leverage. That's how you get speaking engagements, or I can get a meeting with pretty much anybody because they go to my LinkedIn, they trace it back, and they're like, not only do I do excellent work, but I have that consistency, and you can see exactly where I come from. And just like you said, I kind of wear it on my sleeve. I am who I am, and it comes across. And so when you have that consistency and you have that investment where people know what you stand for, then there's incredible value in that. And when you can, the way that you position a product, that's your brand. And so when you're showing up and you're building a personal brand through video, that's how you associate the value of what you deliver. And there's different ways of associating that value, but an excellent one and an underutilized one is through content creation, is through consistent content creation. But the thing is, not a lot of people do a great job of it. And there's two camps. So you have a lot of natural entertainers. You go onto TikTok and even LinkedIn now, there's a lot of people who are just excellent with their camera presence. They're almost like newscasters or kind of sketch comedy artists. And there's so many of them out there in the world. There are a lot of people who are really thespians, or just excellent on camera. And those are the people who oftentimes go viral, or some other people just have their way of being them. And I can't do that. I cannot emulate those people. I have to show up and do it my way. So success for me is a post that gets 30 or 40 likes maybe on LinkedIn. I am not going to be that person who's getting 1,000 likes and comments. And I am very successful with my content strategy and my content approach. I get clients from all over the world, and it works for me, but I'm also not trying to emulate the characters. I am being true to me, and that's sustainable. That's something I can show up excited to do day in and day out, because I believe in the message that I share, and I am being me. So I don't have this exhaustion of trying to hold up this kind of false image. And so I think that the psychology of it is like, we all see the people who are these influencers or who get, thousands of likes and comments on every post, and then we want to emulate that. But that's like the 1% of the 1%, and it's not sustainable. And so, yeah, that's kind of another reason why I do want to share this message of how to just be true to yourself, be consistent and clear, build up that credit, and that's the way to have a presence that you don't become exhausted by the process, and then it works for you. You have that leverage, that credibility, and that trust that you build up over time.
Yeah, and like to add on that as well, like being on the podcast like now, like this podcast started out from that. Like it was literally like from the birth of wanting to, like just having a coffee with my friend and actually a cup of tea. And we basically had this 4-track, and we were basically talking about what we're doing, like our next direction in our businesses. And he had his 4-track, and we pulled it out, and so that's the first episode where we literally just started a podcast. And then the next episode was getting a guest on the podcast, and then after that it was like speaking to someone that I used to work with, and then kind of the next episode was someone else that I painted a portrait for as a gift through their daughter, and like they're a friend of mine from growing up, and it's just like organically just grew and grew, and to a point now where where this is episode 28, and you're and we're having this conversation where like you're sharing your wisdom and the way that you create amazing videos, and you educating me in the process of doing that. But then also this is a piece of content that goes out to share with the masses, and it's a way for you to kind of like to get your message out further as well. And it's almost like, and for me, I'm getting clearer and clearer about what I do and what I offer to people, which is helping people to get clearer and communicate what they do through the graphic novels and the comic books. So all that has come through the process, and it's that whole thing of the message I'm putting out is if you're worried about starting, just start.
Yeah.
and go on the journey with it, because like after I did 2 episodes, it was like I couldn't claim I was a podcaster. I didn't feel. But then now that I've done 28, it's like cool. I can confidently say like I run a podcast, and this is my podcast, and this is the message behind it. And using these single episodes, I can put them in front of someone and be like, okay, these 3 episodes is what you should listen to, and kind of building up my portfolio. And it's also a way of I feel like podcasting in the age of AI, it's one of the most and video is the most authentic, not authentic, it's like the most real way of communicating, because it's like you can see you can hear you, and there's no AI involved with us talking here, and it's like
immense value in a person being their genuine self with their experiences and perspectives and unique approach to things, and a massive opportunity, because I am a big fan of AI. I use AI a lot, but the way that I use AI, so you take the transcripts from one of your podcasts, any of your podcasts, and you think about the portraits that you're painting for guests, and you're pulling out like so much of a wealth of them, their core. And then, so you take those transcriptions, you take their answers, and you put that into like an AI agent. Then that agent can answer questions, or it can analyze information from the perspective of that person, because you've helped to pull out their genuine kind of core essence, their knowledge and experiences. And so thinking about how to add value for your clients, it's beautiful. The graphic storybooks and having a depiction of them, and you also are sitting on a wealth of resources where you've helped to kind of distill the real kind of core elements of them. And there's so much that you can do to help supercharge your content strategy or any kind of document writing, because then that's their natural language structure. And so, there's a lot of power in working with people to pull out their story and capturing it in a podcast. So I think there's a massive opportunity for you to bridge like what you're doing with AI and further empower the people that you work with.
Yeah. Because there's something there, isn't there? It's really. So I guess the challenge I have with AI is because I use it in a way, but not so much. I'm quite light touch with it. It's I guess what at the roots of what really lights me up. If you are helping people to actually hear their voice, and helping people to feel their natural tone of voice. And my go-to when I'm working with someone is listening to that person and only writing words down that have come out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm reflecting it back, then just structuring that in a way where it's okay, cool. Like this is what you said in the form of a story. So it's like capturing that raw essence, and then off the back of that, then if they used AI to then push it further, that would be the next step. But it's like the first step is really sort of like crafting it into this piece where it's like this is as authentic as it gets.
I'm thinking of it from the standpoint of, so I've got this the community interest company Brighton United. We, like I said earlier, we're helping to bring more global majority representation to the business environments across town. And we're at a stage now where we're doing a lot of grant applications. So having a knowledge base, having all of this, I do audio recordings of every meeting.
Yeah. And
so every bit of our story, of our why, of our contributions, every stage of the journey, from meeting to meeting, week after week, month after month, it's all archived. And so when it comes down to writing, a grant proposal or having to detail a bit of narrative, it's all there and it's all us. And it 100x our productivity and output. And it's everything that we've said. So it's only feeding back what we've agreed and discussed. There is no hallucinations because I'm just drawing off of the knowledge bank. I'm not saying make up a strategy for someone in my industry and give me some talking points. That's a terrible use of AI.
Yeah.
But when you start collecting your authentic thoughts, like I'm so fortunate, I have so much content from years, and so it has all of my thoughts mapped and inside of a agent essentially. And I build agents for almost everything, and for my client work, for the projects that I do. And when you have unique organic information that doesn't come from an online document or somewhere else, it's just niche to you, that's what you're creating with your clients. And it's it really empowers them for productivity and getting their message out. It's a big part of my work is when I coach clients or I work with them, it's helping to develop a repeatable system that they can implement, because that's just one of the things that I don't know that I'm fairly adept at is putting together systems. And yeah, like, but there's other stuff that I'm terrible at.
Yeah.
So you have to lean into your strengths, and then yeah, that's kind of the service that I provide. But anyways, I'm rambling.
When you shared that about currency, I really like that, and I guess something that is underneath all of this, it's that whole thing of really making someone feel comfortable to share themselves.
You do a great job of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you ask excellent questions, and you can tell that you give a shit. It's not like you're just, all right, this will get me where I want to go, or this will come across, great. Like, yeah, you're present. You have a genuine interest, and yeah, you ask, like, questions that are like slightly uncomfortable, but in a great way, in a refreshing way. It's not surface level, generic BS, and it's almost it's like therapy in a way. It's a degree of therapy to it, which I guess that's why you're able to give back a likeness or representation that kind of touches someone to the core and helps them to see themselves in their journey. So yeah, it's an honor, and that's a big part of why I wanted to make sure and capture it, because I was like, this is going to be good. I know there's going to be gold, and for me, conversations make the best content. The things that people, when you're inspired and you're talking about something that you care about or someone else is interested, there are other people like that who want to hear those same topics, who want to hear you address those same issues. And so I'm like, we're about to have a great conversation, and there is nothing more authentic than grabbing a great soundbite from a great conversation. It's I gotta admit, 𝗄𝗶𝗃 Moore. I don't know if you know Toby, but he is an absolute legend, and that is something he told me years ago. Conversations make the best content, and it's true. You cannot beat it with a stick.
Yeah, so true. And I think, thank you. Flattering to hear that we said about asking the questions, because something I want to say in flip of that is the way that you come across and the way that you actually articulate what you've got to say, and all the answers, or not answers, that's kind of a weird way to say it, but just the way that you responded back to questions and what you've given into the conversation. You're really good at just putting your all into it. You know what I mean? And I think that's a real gift that you've got, is the way that you've got such a big energy, but then you're also really good at sort of being in flow with that. And I guess something else underneath for me is helping people who are not as affluent yet, to then be able to then have the confidence eventually to be that affluent. And I feel like you really do that with your work as well, with the way that you kind of map out the roadmap for people, and kind of make them capture that content for them and make it easy for them to share. But I think that's a real resonance between the work that we do, because I think it takes time, doesn't it, to feel confident. And not everyone kind of has that confidence straight away, and it's just a muscle that you're building.
True that. And the thing is, in my experience, is I'm a drill sergeant. I'm really hard with my clients. When I work with them, I'm just like, stop, no, we can't do that. I'm not gonna let you get away with that. That's not connecting. There's no passion in this. We have to do it again. We're gonna have to rewrite that, script, or deliver that line differently. Come on, let's go take a walk. I'm sorry, but this is we need a new approach or something. But then when a person, that's what I mentioned earlier about getting out of your own way, and when you get a client and get to a point to where they're not thinking about it or intellectualizing it or second guessing it, and they're just in the moment, and they deliver something, and it just resonates. It's like that passion, and it's like this is what they know, and it's conviction. And it just excites me. I get so fired up about that. And the client, when they have that feeling, that sense that, oh yeah, this is me sharing my message, sharing what I believe in a way that is going to help someone, then they don't forget that. you have a connection to that moment, to that sense, to that way of expressing, and then you build on that, you grow from that, and but that's the real work, is helping people to build a familiarity or a relationship with that, you know, kind of passionate, resonant expression, and once, you know, you have that relationship with it, it doesn't go away. You just build on it, and then it becomes so easy to go there more consistently, and then all of a sudden it just becomes how you show up. So yeah, like exactly what you say, it's muscle memory, and it's something that you learn to get better at.
So true, because I remember like when I used to have these, I guess like these are quite like inner conversations, and I just remember like every time I had like a deep conversation with someone, I'd go deep to the bottom of the ocean, and I think like now it's like I'm swimming with it. And I can flip in and out of it. Like I'm not always kind of in deep mode. I can kind of come out of that and just talk about like something else. And what we were talking about before. We were talking about cups of tea. We were talking about these mango cups of teas, and then we kind of made a cup of tea, and then we were talking about like Chicago, and like flipping in and out of different things. But it's like you can easily go deep and then come out, and it's like there's more waves. And you're kind of riding the rapids instead of kind of being deep and really being inside it. You're kind of coming in and out, and I think that flow and that it's like surfing, isn't it? Like, and the more you surf, the better you get. You're not constantly coming off your board.
Yeah.
You do it. The more you talk, the more you get comfortable. Like vulnerability grows. Like you become more resilient, and it all just starts to. Yeah. Then you connect on more levels with people. Because I feel like we've built a relationship. Like. And like I've said before, like we've only met each other like 4 times, and it's like we know each other really well, and it's like, yeah, how you know, because it's like we've had like just those few interactions where we've kind of really gone into the meat of stuff or the juice of stuff, and yeah. No, I'm rambling.
We should wrap it.
Yeah,
man. I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, definitely, but, man.
Yeah,
that was awesome. Man. So good.
Yeah, pleasure, man. Nice one.